What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 1983 Dodge Shelby Charger. Up front is a 2.2 liter inline 4, and down below is a 5-speed manual transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this here 1983 Shelby Charger because they only made about 8,000 of them when new back in 1983, and it's just such a cool special edition unique vehicle. This is a survivor car. It is very, very clean, and I love sharing those cars with you on the channel. But before we get on to anything else, I have a website, zackpradel.com, where you can buy stickers and other merchandise when it becomes available. You could also submit your own vehicle to be reviewed by me through a quick and easy submission form, and you get a video of your car just like this one, especially if you have an older Chrysler or Dodge product from the 80s. I would love to film it. And you can read my behind the scenes blog to see what I'm filming before it comes out on the channel. But before we get on to anything else, how did this car come about? How is it a Shelby but also a Dodge? Well, you have to understand that Chrysler was in dire straits in the 1980s. Strapped for cash, Chrysler was looking for ways to rejoin the fight in Detroit. That charge was led by Lee Iacocca, one of my automotive idols. Lee Iacocca developed the K-Car platform that could be adapted for many different vehicle types, saving the company money. This was a huge success and ended up saving them a bunch of money. But there was another issue: brand image. Chrysler wasn't cool and was losing out to the Japanese with their Nissan Zs and Mazda RX-7s. So Iacocca called an old friend to help. That friend was Caroll Shelby. Together, they made this car, a cool, hip version of the Charger destined to be on every teenager's bedroom wall. It started in 1983, and they tweaked the suspension and handling, they tweaked the engine with a higher compressor and cam timing, revised the gear ratios in the transmission, gave it special wheels, tires, and brakes, faster steering rack, a new nose, racing stripes, and a special exhaust. Then they slapped Caroll Shelby's name on it and called it a day. And that's what we're driving here today. But let's get back to that 2.2 liter inline 4 we just talked about. All of that work they did to the engine was good for about 107 horsepower, which was actually 13 horsepower more than the stock Charger that didn't get the Shelby tweaks. The power is fine and the transmission is good too. Now, for 1983, they only offered the manual transmission, but in 1984, the Shelby Charger could be had with an automatic. So this year was manual only, and I like it. The shifter actually feels good. The gear ratios are decently short, but that makes the car feel really sporty. However, what's not sporty is the fact that this is front-wheel drive. That's right, the Charger of the 1980s, not only did it not look the part, but it also was driven by the wrong wheels. And so this is a front-wheel drive Dodge Charger. Kind of interesting there. But what's it like to actually drive the car? I actually quite like it. It's nimble, it's fun, and there's a lot of things going on. The steering is actually tight. You really feel that shortened ratio. The shifter feels great. And yeah, it only makes 107 horsepower, but it's buzzy. Think more Honda Civic and less Dodge Charger. It's fun in that regard. It's fun to ring it out. It's fun to push it. It's fun to poke it. And that's what I love about this little car. But with the drivetrain out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 3 main gauges. On the left is my tachometer. In the center is my speedometer, highlighting 55 miles an hour. And if you'd like to know why that is, you can check out my video on that. And then off to the right, I have my fuel gauge, battery voltage, and my quartz clock. If you'd like to know more about quartz clocks, I also have a separate video on that as well. The steering wheel is a deep dish design. However, I don't get any buttons or markings on it at all. Not even a Dodge logo. I'm not even asking for a Shelby logo. Literally just a Dodge logo, but I don't get that, unfortunately. Off to the left are the climate controls. So I guess the passenger can get bent if they want to change it. But over here, I do have my heater, and this car was not optioned with the air conditioning, which we'll talk about in a second. I also have my headlights over here, and then on the door, I do have my manual mirrors, manual windows, and my manual locks, which is like a turn knob, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if I've seen that in a car before. Moving into the center, I do have my volume and tune knob for the radio, a very, very simple AM/FM radio. But off to the left and right, you get these sort of garage door looking things. These are just block-off plates for what would be the air conditioning had this car been optioned with it. That's where the air conditioning vents would be. but we don't have that. Down below, we have the cigarette lighter and ashtray, of course. 2 more vents that I can see right through to the ground. I don't think they're really doing much. A little cubby, some coin holders, and cup holders. So we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the 1983 Dodge Shelby Charger. And unfortunately, it doesn't pass. No car older than 1995 has ever passed the big friggin' bottle test. And for those wondering, the big friggin' bottle fits in about 23% of cars that I review. Unfortunately, this older stuff just can't accommodate it. Then we do have the shifter. Now, this is not the factory shift knob, but this is the factory shift pattern. I find it interesting that it's a 5-speed with reverse off to the left. Normally, they put that where 6th gear would normally go, but this actually has a safety lockout and is all the way off to the left, which I find unique to this little car. Then I get the handbrake, and then we gotta talk about the seats. The seats are finished in this nice blue material. I love them. They are very, very comfortable, and I am pleasantly enjoying them here in the Shelby Charger. I think just American cars in the 80s were really, really comfortable. I've said this time and time again with GM products, but I guess it's the same for Chrysler too. Really comfy seats. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're kind of in the back of the 1983 Dodge Shelby Charger. My head's hitting the ceiling, my knees won't function if I put the seat normally. This is where it normally goes. I have my left leg completely out of the vehicle. I'm a big guy, I don't fit back here, but I don't think most people would fit back here. It's not really the point of these back seats. They were mainly just kind of have them to have them, and that's it. I don't even get any shoulder belts back here. I do get lap belts, which is nice, but no shoulder belts in the back of the Shelby Charger. Let's go hop around the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, so we're on the back of the Shelby Charger. I already popped it from inside because this is the era where cars had 2 keys. However, the owner does not have the hatch key. There is a hatch release inside. But once the hatch is open, tons, and I mean tons of space in here. This is really, really interesting, really, really cool to see. This is of the era. The 80s were fantastic about hatchbacks. Hatchbacks were so freaking usable in this era, and I love that about it. That back seat can also fold down, so then it can be a completely flat loading floor. And at that point, I mean, I can sit in here and spend the night. Like, seriously. Oh. Anyway, really, really cool to see the rear trunk space of a Dodge Charger. Probably the best trunk space of any Dodge Charger before it or even after. Now we gotta talk about the looks. And the pinstriping looks great. I think the new nose looks great. Overall, I think this is just a really cool looking car just because of how rare and different it is. You know, I've never driven something quite like this. There was a kid in my town that had a red non-Shelby when I was growing up, but then I never saw it ever again, and I didn't get any time to spend with it. So actually looking at this car, drinking this car in, I have to say I'm a big, big fan. But now let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a 1983 Dodge Shelby Charger? Well, there's a small part of me that says, this is a Dodge Charger that's a front-wheel drive, 4-cylinder, naturally aspirated. What the heck? And I'm sure there's other people saying they made a front-wheel drive Charger. Yeah, they did, and this is it. But if you get that idea out of your head, this is really a very fun car. It's agile, it's nimble, it's engaging. That's, I think, the most fun I'm having, is that it's very, very engaging. The steering is right there, tight and nice. The shifter, it actually feels like a shifter. It's good. That little 4-cylinder is screaming just to get me going, but that's all part of the fun. This car is enjoyable. Now, I still think that the Japanese did it better in this era. Of course, I own an 85 RX-7, so I'm pretty biased when I say that, but this is still a very, very fun, very engaging car. And it has personality. That's the thing. That's what's lacking from a lot of modern vehicles, is that this car actually has a personality. It's a cartoon character. It's got big googly eyes up front. And so Dodge ended up making these for a couple of years. And then when they ended this version, Caroll Shelby himself bought out the last few Dodge Chargers and made his own version, the GLH and GLHS. GLH standing for Goes Like Hell. If anyone has one of those, please let me know with the information up on the screen. I'd love to film one. And so effectively, actually, the Dodge Charger went away after this, only to be revived in the 2000s on an E-Class chassis that we're now very familiar with. But this is an important part of the Charger's history. This is an important part of American history, an important part of Caroll Shelby's history. And that is super, super cool. Huge thank you to Connor for letting me take out his Dodge Shelby Charger. This thing was really, really fun to take a look at. I'm excited because hopefully this marks me diving more into 80s Chryslers. I haven't really reviewed any on the channel, and maybe with your help I can. But huge thank you to Connor. He's been absolutely awesome to work with, and I can't thank him enough. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.